Last week was pretty insane with big announcements and reveals, and that momentum rolls over into the Steam Next Festival this week with thousands of playable demos, so stay tuned for my recommendations, but this results in a smaller week of releases, so I've included some surprise drops and 1.0 launches, beginning with Gunner-chan, an anime-inspired 2.5D action roguelite where you fight your way through procedurally generated rooms full of robotic enemies and environmental hazards. Interestingly, weapons automatically aim at enemies, so you need to mainly focus on dodging and dashing, looking like a Vampire Survivors style control scheme, but going backwards into a room-based roguelite, and is interesting as a result. One look at Aestheta and you might be able to see the Clash Royale influence in this game, being a strategic roguelite card battler where you summon units, cast spells, and even construct buildings to defeat your opponent's tower before yours falls. Build a deck of over 60 unique cards while managing mana and tower health simultaneously. Each run randomizes your card options, shops, relic drops, and enemy towers, so no two playthroughs are alike, with an interesting pixel art look as well. This video is brought to you by LAN Party Adventures, a nostalgic single-player adventure set in the early 2000s where setting up LAN parties was both a technical challenge and a social event. The developers described this as a mix between PC building simulator, Blueprints, and Stranger Things, offering something different in the first-person job simulator space, in which you play as a tech-savvy teen tasked with organizing and setting up LAN parties across various locations, connecting VGA cables, managing dial-up internet, and troubleshooting software installations. However, something strange is going on, which involves your missing friend Pedro, as well as someone messing with the other townspeople, adding an element of intrigue. As such, if you were there and experienced dial-up internet firsthand like me, or if you're curious about how things were back then this will be of interest, with the game releasing a new demo during the Steam Next Festival beginning on June 9th, so try that out and wishlist the game. Charge through vertigo-inducing arenas in Project Warlock II, a fast-paced first-person shooter which just released out of early access, being the sequel to a very popular title that makes gunplay with magic. There are 3 characters with unique campaigns, each with distinct arsenals and spells, that influence how you battle enemies. Levels are vertically layered and non-linear, so you can climb platforms, traverse floors, and backtrack to find secret gear or perks. Combat demands speed and precision as you blast foes with shotguns, rifles, and magical attacks, while weaving between cover and running into other pathways, upgrading weapons with infusions and perk points between missions, which can result in some pretty powerful feeling options. There are RPG-style progression systems through stats and passive upgrades, and is a worthy sequel even if it doesn't seem to be as popular as the original. Enter a chaotic courtroom with socks as lawyers, prosecutors, witnesses, judges, and jurors in Guilty as Sock, a multiplayer party game built around improvisation and absurd logic. Up to 9 friends join roles like bailiff or journalist, while the lawyers argue wild accusations using evidence cards and voice chat to sway the room. Being a next-generation kind of social party game, building upon foundations that Among Us has laid. Evidence cards can support or condemn the accused, and anyone can disrupt proceedings by throwing paper, shouting objections, or mocking the others in real time. The judge manages speaking order and can eject or penalize players for breaking court rules or simply for being ridiculous, with jurors reacting with buzzers or doodles and then deciding on the verdict after arguments end. Between rounds, roles rotate, so every session shifts dynamically and encourages playful chaos, looking like fun with friends, and has really taken off, so hats off to the developers for creating something special. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. I've had my eye on the real-time roguelite deck builder KindFolx for quite a while, having been drawn in with their art and animation which kind of resembles Adventure Time, where it has been pushed back a couple of times and is out this week, although I don't know if releasing in the middle of the Steam Next Festival is the best idea. You are playing your cards in real time, prioritizing and attacking enemies that might do the most damage to you, where the main story is kind of Undertale-like in that a war raged between monsters and humans the humans won. But the city of KindFolx was created where the two were to live in harmony. However, after the death of a beloved leader, a monster folk fueled by human hatred rises to power, so the Adventurers Guild has to stop him. It's your classic Slay the Spire inspired deck builder, but with a real-time action bar, having similar randomized encounters as well as random events, relics for game-changing power-ups, and powerful synergies to discover, looking like something different and should be good. We did also get the surprise release of Camper Van Make It Home during the Wholesome Direct. Again, not a strategy that I would encourage developers to use, since you need time to market a game, especially an indie game, but yet here we are, so I hope this helps, being a spatial puzzle game where the goal is to organize a small living space inside a camper van by placing furniture and arranging belongings in a limited space. Each level presents a new van layout with a fixed number of items to fit, and players must rotate and reposition them until everything fits neatly. Items vary in size and shape, and some require access to function, adding constraints to how they can be placed. However, there is no timer or score system, being a meditative and creative experience that simply allows you to exist in this world, looking super cozy and pleasant, so get this if you want to lower your heart rate. If, on the other hand, you want to jack up your heart rate, Chained Backrooms might be of interest, a cooperative horror game that combines Chained Together and the liminal space The Backrooms, which could cynically be seen as some sort of cash grab to capitalize on trends, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Players are physically connected by a chain and must navigate randomly generated levels while staying within a fixed distance of each other, needing to coordinate directions, speed, and spacing to avoid getting stuck or being pulled away from objectives. Each level contains objectives like collecting keys, opening doors, and solving simple puzzles while avoiding roaming enemies. The layout changes every run, with different room types, blocked paths, and item placements. Some tasks requires players to move in opposite directions or hold separate switches, with resources like stamina and torchlight batteries being limited, which adds to the tension, looking like co-op fun in the same ways that games like Content Warning and Repo tend to be, so maybe check this out with your friends. We also had the 1.0 release of Crafty Survivors, yet another Vampire Survivors style bullet heaven roguelite, but it seems to be fairly popular, even if recent reviews are mixed. You choose from multiple crafter characters, each with unique active abilities and passive playstyles, from chef to farmer, fisherman, blacksmith, seamstress, and more. Taking on missions to battle waves of enemies. This enables you to collect materials which can then be used back at the village to craft weapons, build structures, or upgrade existing buildings to unlock new crafters and special buffs, where I do love a good village building system in games, which makes this of note. The pixel art is nice as well, so if you're in the mood for one of these, do check this out. Dagger Directive released last week and is a tactical first-person shooter designed around careful planning, precise gunplay, and open-ended level design. Each mission begins with a loadout selector where you choose weapons, attachments, gear, and even time of day. Maps are large and open, with multiple entry points and objective routes, allowing for both stealth and direct assaults. Movement is slow and deliberate, with leaning, crouching, and climbing used to navigate cover and to avoid detection, almost to the extent of being a military simulation title, but perhaps one step lower than the most hardcore of those games. Gunfights are lethal since there's no health regeneration, meaning that a single shot can end a mission. with realistic recoil and bullet drop, and even where suppressors or scopes change the behavior of the weapons. Enemies respond to noise and line of sight, and will coordinate, flank or fall back depending on how you engage. Additionally, tools like drones, tripwires or breaching charges gives you more tactical options where you can unlock perks and modify your loadout between missions. So despite the throwback look, there's something deeply strategic here and is pretty cool. Pick Trooper, Heavy, Recon or Engineer and dropped into Heroes of Valor, a cartoony third-person shooter set in World War II with infantry, vehicles and aircraft working together. As such, it kind of looks like Battlefield Heroes but for another age, perhaps having more in common with modern entries like Fortnite, but it's not a battle royale, instead having classic modes like Conquest and King of the Hill. In fact, the more I look at it, the more it looks like Battlefield with a focus on objectives where getting kills alone is not enough. The focus on vehicles, from tanks to planes and motorcycles, is also very Battlefield-like, with additional emplacements like anti-air guns which you can use as well. Each class has unique loadouts and unlockable skills which you can tweak mid-match, and while it is of course multiplayer focused, there will be bots to play against, having up to 10-player PvP which is manageable but has co-op against AI and might yet survive the competitive space that is the multiplayer shooter. A free student project out of DigiPen is Numbra, a real-time stealth and puzzle game where maintaining wakefulness is central to survival. You control a young girl navigating dark environments, having to avoid hostile entities that emerge, and gives off Little Nightmares vibes. The core mechanic revolves around managing an alertness meter, since if it drops too low, the risk of being attacked increases. Puzzle elements include moving crates, activating switches, and opening paths without drawing attention from nearby creatures, with light sources playing a key role in both navigation and safety. Each level introduces new hazards or layout changes that builds on earlier mechanics, increasing complexity without relying on combat, and if a student project is this good, I do have high hopes for the future of games. The first-person cleaning simulator has been a mainstay in video games since there's just something so satisfying about a job well done, see Power Wash Simulator, or going back even further, Viscera Cleanup Detail, with Paranormal Cleanup being the latest entry. This is a cooperative survival horror cleanup sim where teams of up to 4 players take on ghost-infected locations and have to complete objectives together. Players tidy environments by unclogging toilets, scrubbing ectoplasm, disposing of moody items, and painting over cult symbols, while hostile entities stalk the area, reacting to noise and visibility. You need to both be stealthy as well as multitask, since players must split efforts between cleaning duties and avoiding paranormal creatures. A job well done earns you XP and money, unlocking upgrades, perks, and new gear with randomized item placements, objectives, and entity behavior, ensuring that each session feels unpredictable and is fun with friends. Another 1.0 release of note is Pinball Storm Lokanta, essentially Vampire Survivors but pinball, insofar as being able to launch marble-like projectiles to clear waves of enemies. It is not pinball in the classic pinball table sense, but where multi-ball has devastating effects, with the many bounces and ricochets of these projectiles being key. You select companions and marble types before each run, and then use an energy bar that charges from kills to summon helpers that bounce marbles across the battlefield. Defeated enemies drop resources and upgrade materials used between rounds to upgrade your marble abilities or to unlock new companions, also having a variety of biomes and stages, each featuring a boss with unique resistances that demand unique strategies. Roguelite randomization ensures replayability and is an interesting release to say the least. A new release that looks very interesting to me is Screaming Savage Blood Death, a side-scrolling survival game where you control camp counselors tasked with protecting a campground over a 7-day cycle. Movement occurs across 2D terrain featuring cabins, woods, and rivers with real-time day-night transitions affecting enemy behavior and visibility. Core objectives include rescuing missing campers, repairing the infrastructure, and defending against hostile entities that increase in aggression after dark. Use throwable weapons like fire bombs and projectiles with limited ammunition and no health regeneration adding to the tension. You must collect resources, unlock map shortcuts, and manage fatigue to maintain operational control of the camp, with each counselor having unique traits that modify stats such as speed, stamina, or carrying capacity. Dynamic events such as storms, blocked paths, or sabotage forces you to adapt, with it having multiple endings based on task completion and character survival. And interestingly, one of the developers listed on this, James Interactive, is also credited on The Legend of Bumbo, making it the hidden gem of the week. Another horror game of interest is The New Flesh, which has already been released as of the time of recording and is already sitting at almost 500 Steam reviews. This is a first-person ambient exploration experience that blends exploration, item collection, and environmental interaction, featuring the music of Red Vox, a band which YouTubers Vinesauce and Jabroni Mike are a part of, which might explain its popularity. Explore at your own pace through unique areas tied to specific music tracks, gathering collectible records while uncovering secrets hidden in the world. The core gameplay avoids combat entirely and centers on exploration, featuring some horrific visuals and characters which kind of gross me out based on the trailer alone. But I suppose that is the point. Each area introduces subtle navigation challenges using light, camera angles, and environmental cues to gently guide players towards hidden spaces, looking like a surreal, trippy, and honestly, quite a freaky looking game. Vilde is a roguelite first-person shooter drawing upon Norse mythology, having procedurally generated levels and modular character builds. Choose from multiple playable characters and progress through zones that change layout in each run, with vertical paths, branching corridors, and randomized enemy placements. You will have access to a variety of firearms, each with their own alt-fire modes, such as explosive projectiles or freezing attacks, with each weapon type having distinct recoil, bullet travel, and fire rates which you need to get used to. You get 4 slots for abilities in each run, including area attacks like Earth Slam and defensive skills like Ice Wall, while passive upgrades and ability shards enhance damage, cooldowns, or status effects. Boss fights appear at the end of major areas and rewards loot which improves weapons or abilities, with the unlocking of weapon tiers, upgrading of character stats, and earning passive cores in between runs. So far, so standard for one of these, where the standouts in this subgenre are still Gunfire Reborn and RoboQuest in my opinion, so I wonder where this game will rank among them. This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. One of the most amazing looking horror adventure games is Mundaun, having a self-described hand-penciled art style, who just announced a physical book under the Lost in Cult Design Works series, being a deep dive into how the game was made, filled with sketches and concept art, along with interviews, inspirations, and much more about the game, being a beautifully bound item as well and will look great on any shelf, so get it via my link in the description below. Despite Scott Cawthon retiring from indie game development, the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise continues with Secrets of the Mimic. Set in Murray's Costume Manor, you investigate a prototype animatronic that can mimic any costume and embodies your fears. Gameplay combines free roam exploration, puzzle solving, stealth, and survival horror mechanics in a 3D environment. You navigate dim corridors, using gadgets and environmental clues to progress through the manor while trying to avoid the mimic, which stalks you and reacts unpredictably. Light and sound matter, since your torchlight and noises made can reveal or conceal threats, and resource management forces you to choose when to use limited batteries or tools. You uncover cryptic clues, solve layered puzzles, and unlock new areas, adapting to the intelligent antagonist that can change form and appear anywhere, appearing to ramp up the jump scare factor and looks creepy. The 1.0 release of Farm Together 2 is of note, since this is quietly one of the most successful farming games, with the original being a huge hit, and while the sequel isn't as popular, it is still pretty good. This is a farming simulation title with a co-op focus, where players expand a customizable plot of land by growing crops, raising animals, and managing production chains. Crops grow in real time and can be harvested and processed into higher value goods using machinery and structures that automate parts of the workflow. Animals produce resources like milk or eggs on a regular cycle and require feeding to remain productive. You're able to terraform the land, modifying terrain height and shape, enabling custom field layouts as well as affecting irrigation. So there are additional factors to consider here as compared to the more common Harvest Moon inspired titles. Produce sold earns you currency, used to unlock new crops, structures, and decorative items, also having additional mechanics like fishing, cooking, mining, and beekeeping, all of which feed into farm development. You can also get your own tractors to more efficiently plow the land, with additional infrastructure such as roads and rails to improve efficiency even further. There's a town, which allows you to fulfill delivery requests for extra rewards, while main quest lines offer structured objectives to guide long-term progress. Not quite as detailed as Farming Simulator, but it is not that casual as well, being a nice middle ground and is fun with friends. Perhaps the biggest new indie game of the week is Forgotlings, a side-scrolling action-adventure Metroidvania set in a world inhabited by sentient discarded objects, in which you play as Fig, a newly appointed enforcer navigating a fragmented society to restore balance. The narrative unfolds across multiple interconnected districts, each home to distinct factions of Forgotlings whose loyalties and motivations impact progression. Exploration combines platforming and ability-based traversal, including wall climbing, switches, and power routing to open paths or activate machinery. Combat is in real time, involving heavy and light attacks, dodge rolls, and energy-based special moves, with dropped resources from defeated enemies being used to unlock new skills or to enhance the character's existing abilities through an upgrade tree. Dialogue choices influence relationships with key characters, unlocking branching outcomes or alternate approaches to mission objectives, playing a larger role in the story, with it also having additional features like a built-in minigame, think Triple Triad, which you can play against NPCs. As such, this looks very ambitious and is set in the same universe as this developer's other game in Forgotten End, where the art, animation, and voice acting appear to be the central focus and could be something special. A few of you mentioned that 11-Bit Studios is quite a large developer, so the alters might be not so indie, veering into AA territory, but this adventure survival base builder does look like quite the intriguing prospect. Taking place on the desolate planet, you control a lone survivor of an ill-fated space expedition, realizing that exposure to solar radiation on this planet is lethal, forcing him to survive by managing a mobile base that must continuously move to avoid the rising sun. To do so, our protagonist discovers a way to clone alternate versions of himself, with each alter version branching from different life choices. These alters are not identical, each possessing distinct skills, emotional profiles, and views of the original, which creates tension and dialogue-driven conflict within the crew. The core gameplay loop revolves around maintaining and expanding the base, which is built from modular segments that provide shelter, power, research, and crafting functions. Resource collection occurs during limited excursions outside, where you harvest materials such as metal and organics before retreating from the deadly sunrise. The altars are essential for operating the base, researching upgrades and automating tasks, but they also require psychological management where neglecting their well-being may lead to mental breakdowns or refusal to cooperate. As such, this blend of science fiction with philosophical exploration is interesting, questioning identity and telling a tale of regret, and could be one of the biggest games of the year. An all-action title of note that sure looks like Doom meets Quake is Hellbreak, an arena-based roguelite first-person shooter set in infernal battlegrounds where you battle waves of demons using not only firearms but also melee options like swords as well as demonic spells, with powerful upgrades to purchase and unlock, and looks like excellent rip and tear action. Watch this video for more first-person shooters.